Well, let's get more on this now. Richard Phillips is a senior policy analyst with Citizens for Tax Justice. He's joining us live from Washington, D.C. Mr. Phillips, always good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. So I know your organisation believes that this European Commission ruling is long overdue. Why is that?
Well, Apple has been moving billions and billions and billions of dollars from all of its overseas operations and even from some from the U.S. operations into Ireland. And actually, even 3 years ago, the Senate launched an investigation and revealed that Ireland had tens of billions of dollars of Apple's profits that hadn't gone taxed. So we've known about this for years, and yet nothing has happened until today. So finally, the EU is taking action to make sure that Apple actually pays taxes on a huge swath of its income.
But the problem seems to be that Ireland doesn't actually want the money. The US doesn't want the money. I mean, the US Treasury has been critical of the EU ruling. Why is it doing that when much of Apple's profits are actually earned in the United States and should be treated as domestic profits, taxed as such?
Well, the ironic thing is that the U.S. does say that at some point in the future, that's unspecified, we will tax these earnings, but we've been waiting for years and years for that to happen. And also what the U.S. has said, or what lawmakers have sort of proposed, is to actually give Apple a massive tax break on these earnings. So instead of paying the 35% rate that they should pay, what some lawmakers have said is, oh, well, maybe they should pay a 5%, maybe an 8%, maybe even Democrats and Barack Obama even just said 14%, which is an awful lot lower than the 35% that they owe. So it's just maybe the possibility that someday the Treasury will lose money, but we think instead lawmakers and the administration should focus on making Apple pay what they owe.
Okay, going back to Ireland, what about Apple's argument that they've created hundreds of thousands of jobs and that the ruling will have a negative effect on investment, on job creation in Europe? Do they have a point there?
I think this is one of Apple's more ridiculous arguments. We know for a fact that Apple has about $215 billion in mostly cash and other earnings that it's just sitting on. So they could tomorrow write this $14 billion check and still have a couple $100 billion to invest. And also I think that it's wrong just because the reason why Apple is investing in Europe is because it's a highly profitable place to make their products. And so it's things like infrastructure, like the education system that they depend on, they just don't want to pay for it. And I think that's outrageous.
They're not the only company that are accused of not paying what they owe in taxes. Just how big a problem is tax avoidance? Because it seems like a systemic problem, and with countries playing each other off because they're competing to bring in business by offering low taxes.
Yeah, well, we know on a worldwide level that companies are avoiding hundreds of billions of dollars every year. There were several recent studies that show this. And on the U.S. side of things, we know that U.S. companies alone have about $2.4 trillion that they haven't paid much of anything in taxes on. And we believe that right now, just for U.S. taxpayers, these companies owe about $700 billion. And so we absolutely think that they should be paying taxes on this. And $700 billion could really help the U.S. government and a lot of other governments across the world.
Richard Phillips, Senior Policy Analyst with Citizens for Tax Justice, joining us from Washington, D.C. there. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.